Hi, friends. Let's talk about emotional triggers. And I'm going to give you an exact formula of how you can actually work through the emotional triggers as they arise within our lives. We hear about emotional triggers and being triggered so much, like it's a lot of spaces, but do we actually know what that means? So being triggered is when a perceived threat happens either to our emotional safety or to our physical safety that sends our body into it hijacks our logical thinking and sends us into a fight or flight response. Now, it doesn't have to be an actual threat. It's just a perceived threat. So sometimes it can be a tone, it can be certain words, it can be certain people, it can be even just like a facial expression that would have a heightened emotional reaction where we just want to lash out and quickly defend or move away from people. So what can happen actually when we have such strong emotional reactions? It sends us into our body. We're not actually able to logically see that if we are or are not at risk of being hurt. And so what is so important is a pause for us to actually to be able to learn to embody a pause and to learn how to regulate our nervous system before we proceed. So when we are in a heightened reactive state, what happens is the amygdala, which is the sensory part of our brain, sets our nervous system into this fight or flight response, which I'm sure we are all familiar with. So we want to either fight what the trigger is, we want to flee, become completely like running away from whatever the trigger is, or we disassociate, we completely become tuned out. So, and the adrenaline and the cortisol that is created from this makes it almost seem impossible for us to be able to put space in between what our brain is telling us, because our logic is completely overridden by the stress response, by the response that our body is telling us, like that no, we are actually in danger. It comes up to our logical brain to be like, hold on, wait, let me step back and assess and see if my thoughts are true and how I can actually regulate my body before I can decide what type of threat and situation I am actually in. So of course, when we are in a high fear type of survival, right? If we have had a lot of physical abuse in our upbringing, or we've had any type of physical abuse from relationships, it's very difficult to be able to decide what is real and what is not, what is a more perceived threat. So that takes a lot more dissecting and cognitive behavioral therapy than just this formula. But as we move further on and we can learn that we are actually safe in our body, here are some things that we can do to move forward. So we can notice a lot of these triggers by, well, I mean, if you don't want to just completely run away, you can notice a lot of these signs in your body that you are having an activated nervous system by having a really rapid heart rate, by feeling it within your chest, by feeling sweaty, or having cold flashes, which sometimes that happens to me, or like my lips will feel like it's tingling. It can feel like a panic attack, honestly. Or you can feel a lot of tension, typically within your jaw, within your neck, or your shoulders. These are all signs that we have been on high alert and we are tensing up in preparation to fight. So what happens is our even when there isn't a perceived threat, but we're sensing things, we're on high alert, what happens is our subconscious is continuously scanning for perceived threats. Then that moves into our body and that creates a lot of tension, and that creates a lot of movements that actually continue to create the perceived threats in our environment. There's a lot of emotional associations within our environments, right? So a lot of our trigger points are from past experiences where we have been emotionally hurt or neglected, or we have felt like we were at a risk for being physically harmed. So what we want to do first is we want to assess exactly where we are at on a trigger scale from 1 to 10, 10 being highly activated, where like I can't even comprehend if this is a real threat or not, and 1 being like, okay, like I recognize the discomfort, yet I think I can step away. Like we want to assess where are we at within this trigger. Okay, so we want to rate where we are at. And if you are at from a 0 to 5, so, you know, from or 1 to 5, what we want to do is do some type of breathing techniques. We want to, we could typically be able to regulate. So first rate, then we regulate our breathing. So anywhere from 1 to 5, we can begin with doing some breath work techniques. So there's the box breathing, where you breathe in through your nose for 4 and release on 4. And do that repeatedly until you are at a state of groundedness. You could also go for a walk out in, if it's warm enough, you could go for a walk out in nature, or just go for a walk, or you could listen to calming music, or, you know, any type of meditative music that they have on YouTube. If you are rating your trigger point from anywhere from a 5 to a 10, you want to get your body moving. You want to be able to somatically get into our body. So that could be anything from jumping up, like jumping jacks. You really want to like shake your body out. You want to be able to get the things, your body, all of the blood moving in your appendages, to be able to get the blood to your brain, to be able to think at a more coherent level, versus having your fight or flight response just take over, being hijacked. So if you're at a level 5 through 10, you want to have intense physical movement. So again, jumping jacks, shaking it off. If you're a runner, you could go running. And these are the things that really help to actually just shake out your nervous system. Another thing that you could do is you could purposely tense up really tight. Like, so if you were to tense up your fist, like really tight for 5 seconds, or even 10 seconds, and then let it go, and then feel that, and then do that again, hold on really tight for 10 seconds, and then let that go. This helps to balance out and neutralize your nervous system, so you're actually able to feel more into your body and to actually become more grounded. Trauma happens when we don't address these triggers that come about. So if we attempt to just bypass the trigger totally, a disconnect happens. When we bypass our body, we layer on the trauma. So by addressing the trigger, we are actually beginning to release stored up trauma that happens within our body. So another way that people really like to do, I know it's helpful, I don't do it myself, to be honest, but is to dip your face in ice water or straight up ice cubes. When you've heard of cold showers in the morning, right? When you take cold showers, what happens is you actually are able to take in bigger breaths. Your blood cells actually expand, and they're actually able to deliver more oxygen to your brain and throughout your whole body, thus delivering a more clear cognition. You're able to think better when you're able to get more oxygen, and having the cold water reset helps for you to be able to take in bigger and deeper breaths, and also helps for the oxygen to be able to travel through to your brain a little bit more easy. Another thing that you can do then is to begin touching your body, right? So you can physically hold on to, like you're giving yourself a hug. You can begin by placing your hand on your heart, noticing what's going on there. Then you begin by moving down to your belly and do a body scan meditation. So again, let's do a quick little recap. If you are rating your trigger point anywhere from a 1 to a 5, you could start with breathing exercises. The box breathing is very helpful. And you can also look up your belly breathing, which is also a very great way to reset and to ground yourself. If you are rating your trigger points anywhere from 5 to a 10, go directly to your body and start with intense movements And also you could use ice water to shake you out and literally disrupt you into your body versus escaping. Then you want to be able to recognize like what you are feeling, and then you want to be able to release that. So after we've regulated, then we work on releasing. So how we release is really up to us. We can talk to a trusted friend, journal, we can do any type of like grounding outside, but also it is very important to learn how to lean on others for support. And if you're looking for someone, you can